Greetings, everyone. My name is Laura Colgate. I am the Executive Director of Boulanger Initiative, a Washington, D.C.-based advocacy organization for women who write music. I am thrilled to be here today for our first ever conversation for Share the Stage Now. Boulanger Initiative created Share the Stage Now to give celebrities the chance to share their virtual stage to help larger audiences get to know more women composers with a one-day Instagram takeover. Today, we are delighted to have a celebrity who needs no introduction, Hans Zimmer, who has scored more than 200 projects across all mediums, has been honored with an Academy Award, 2 Golden Globes, 3 Grammys, an American Music Award, and a Tony Award. His soundtracks are some of the best ever written, and to name just a few, Gladiator, Thin Red Line, As Good as It Gets, Rain Man, The Dark Knight Trilogy, Inception, 12 Years a Slave, and my personal favorite, Interstellar. Hans generously jumped at the chance to take part and Share the Stage Now to heighten awareness of one of my favorite living composers, Jessie Montgomery, an acclaimed composer, violinist, and educator. She is the recipient of the Leonard Bernstein Award for the ASCAP Foundation, and her works are performed frequently around the world by leading musicians and ensembles. Today is the anniversary of the premiere of Rain Man, which happened 32 years ago today on December 16th, 1988. Welcome, Hans and Jessie, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks for having us.
Hans, when's the first time you heard Jessie's music? Do you remember?
Don't want to put him on the spot.
Probably.
I do.
The songs about slavery. When was that? 2018, something like that.
Oh yeah, the 5 slave songs.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know your history goes back and your work goes forward, etc. You know, but I remember being just very touched by them. You know, music isn't always about, especially the flaw composers have, that instantly go and analyze what did they do, what's the technique, what's the da 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 da.
Right.
And to hear something where you go, okay, I'm analyzing a technique, and then, oh no, I have been completely and utterly emotionally pulled into this, and I don't care about technique. I don't care about anything. I don't want to analyze. I just want to experience.
Oh.
So that's it.
Well, thank you. Well, that's an incredible compliment, and
that's.
I mean, bringing in emotional aspects to the music comes from a deep appreciation for what you do and film music in general, and its ability to create an emotional background and an emotional underpinning for for the story. And I do think that way in my music, even in concert music. So I'm glad to hear that it comes across. Yeah.
I have a suspicion. I'd love to ask you this, actually.
Sure.
But the reason we have to, do you feel compelled? Do you feel you have to write music? You know?
Yes.
Like there are so many easier jobs to have.
Yes.
Right? But no, you got to go and do this impossible thing. You have to write music.
I absolutely.
Otherwise, you'll suffocate.
It feels like it's something I'm called toward. It's like I can't imagine not doing it. So.
But within that music, there's something you have to say, and there's a story you're telling, and the story can't necessarily be told in words. And there's this other language which we have, this secret language that gets right under people's skin. But when we get those moments right, that makes it all.
That feels good. Yeah, makes it feel like peace is working. Yeah.
Exactly, and anybody who enters this world, and I'm just going to, this is probably the wrong thing to say, but anybody who enters this world thinking it's going to be a business or it's going to be a job is wrong, because it's not.
No, it's a life.
It's a life. And 3 o'clock in the morning, when everybody is asleep, and you're sitting there, and you're still pushing one note around that you've been pushing around for the last 10 hours. Should it be a sharp or should it be a flat? Or should it be there? And that is your question. That is the most important question to you at that moment in time. And tomorrow you're supposed to pay the rent on your apartment and you don't have the money, etc. But that doesn't matter. You have to go and wrestle with this note.
Solve this problem. Yeah.
That's the problem to solve. So right. The good advice is don't do it unless you can't help.
Choice.
You have no choice. And then embrace
it.
Yeah,
really
just
take
do
it.
it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you remember that I was actually performing in the orchestra, playing in the orchestra that did the Lion King recording?
I have a great picture of you guys. It's like everybody's standing outside the scoring stage. It was just a thrill.
It was it's really exciting. Yeah.
Despite the fact that you played in that, you actually hadn't met before.
We didn't get to meet while I was there because there was about 200 people in the room at any point. And I got to go in the studio at the end when we all, folks piled in and listened. But I have to be honest, look, I'm a huge fan and I got a little starstruck and a little shy and so I didn't say hi then, but I'm just glad that
let's say hi now.
Boulanger Initiative that we've been able to sort of connect in this virtual manner.
But equally, I'm starstruck by your capabilities and by your musicianship and by the work that you do and the work that you have done. Look, the reason I got into music was not to be there by myself, but because to surround myself with excellence. And this was, and I think you probably felt the same way. This was truly us surrounding each other with our brothers and sisters in excellence.
So many of those musicians were like longtime colleagues and people I tremendous respect for, and then to be playing your music and to be surrounded by all of the the entire production team of the film and everything that was going on in that studio was a huge, it was an incredible highlight to be surrounded by all of that.
We did something, we did a few sort of extraordinary things. One was, yes, I wanted to have a culturally integrated, let's call it that, orchestra. But the other thing we did, rather than recording, we did for the first few days, we recorded each little bit, which was basically my way of making everybody learn it.
Yeah.
So we worked our way through every little cue, refined it, everybody knew what they were doing. And then on the last day, I said, okay, so this is what we're doing today. We're just, and the room, I don't know, I think we had 120 people in that room, at least.
Yes.
But we somehow squashed a few more chairs in, and so that we could have an audience of the executives at Disney. And I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to perform the film. We're just going to start at the beginning and go all the way through with as few stops as possible. And we're just going to go and rock out and be passionate about
it. Go for it. Yeah.
And go for it. And do that thing music does so well before we all get sidetracked into the world of recording.
It was a real thrill. An amazing thing.
Yes. And the result was great. And and I think everybody learned something. Everybody learned that the old ways are the good ways, of people playing together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people playing together, absolutely. Yeah, it was such a rush.
Yeah, and I keep thinking, look, we live in weird times, but I keep thinking music played like this, culturally diverse like this, is a sort of a political statement in itself. You never have to say a word. You never have to do anything. Lion King was the perfect thing to do it for, because since this was sort of the remake, the first one we finished, Lebo, my friend, who was a political refugee who I found working at a car wash in Los Angeles, who is that voice at the beginning of the movie. He and I, we finished the first one 2 weeks before that general election in South Africa turned truly that world around when the ANC finally won. So it sort of felt like that there was in that children's movie there was an undercurrent of political and philosophical and humanistic meaning all along. The thing that bothers me, and I think you realized that during the sessions we did with the Lion King as well, because it wasn't just guys playing. it's always bothered me, this idea that, you know, that we live in such a male-dominated world. You know, as a man, I can honestly say men are missing out on the beauty and the grace and the intelligence and the amazing music that is being made by women.
Well, I agree. Yeah.
I find as musicians, the time of not being political is truly over.
Right.
The time of not fighting for each other is truly over. The fight of, you know, the time of not truly acknowledging that we need each other, and that the only way music can really exist and be beautiful and be startling and become an experience is if we as musicians work together and include the audience somehow in the process as well. I mean, it took me, you know, I don't know, 40 years of whining about stage fright and how I couldn't do that, to go out on a stage, to finally realize that the only thing that's worth doing is to go out there on a stage and actually have a conversation, a musical conversation with the audience. And the thing, you know, the thing I hope nobody forgets is that a woman's voice, first of all, I think really it is the first thing we hear as babies.
Yeah.
You know, it's the most, you know, when we scream and a woman answers, it's the most important thing in our life, right? But, you know, a woman's musical voice or a woman's artistic voice it is different to a man's voice. And that's what makes it so great. That's what makes it special. That's what, you know, I want to hear more of that. There is a different perspective, and it's a perspective that is vital. I'll tell you a story.
Sure.
My friend Pharrell Williams came to me one day and he said, "Look, I have this idea for a movie." I'm going, "Yeah, okay, what's it about?" He goes, "Well, the period piece." I'm going, "Well, that's expensive. That's difficult." And it's about African American. "Oh yeah, great. Okay, that's not very commercial." And then he goes, "It's about women." I'm going, "It's not getting any easier here." And he goes, "It's about mathematics." I'm going, "This is the most uncommercial thing I've ever heard." He goes, "Yeah, but there are rockets in it." And of course, that's hidden figures. And one of the things we did was we went, "Hang on a second. If we're doing this and we're really doing it, let's honor the women, and you know, and get as many women into the orchestra as we possibly can, especially women of color." We did that, and you know, I'm always amazed that other people are amazed that these things work out. Of course they work out. Do you mean?
Of course, yeah.
It's such bullshit that this is still a fight. That, you know, that is even a conversation.
I'm just grateful to have been a part of, you know, a moment in which, you know, that was being cracked right open. And I know that you were working with a dear colleague and friend of mine, Stephanie Matthews, who was responsible for bringing us over from New York, who is, you know, an absolute powerhouse, you know, and a real role model as far as, you know, we're talking about women working in like music production and on the production side. I just commend, you know, that her effort in that.
Yeah, Stephanie, quite simply, I mean, the thing that I notice about her is in her most charming way, she just will not take no for an answer.
Exactly, yeah.
Not that I have ever offered up a no as an answer to her. In fact, if anything, I'm going, let's push it even further. Let's see when, you know, see when the whole thing crashes into the wall and catches fire. That's when it gets exciting.
And I guess that's sort of maybe one of the things to touch on, Laura, on some of the points in regards to women participating more in film music or in music production. I would love to see people doing more work like our colleague Stephanie that we're just discussing. You know, more women on the production, big heavy production side of things. You know, calling shots and you know, letting their big vision through is something that would be really exciting to see develop as we go through this work.
You know, from Penny Marshall to, you know, just now Patty Jenkins. I mean, yesterday I was still working on Wonder Woman, which obviously is you know, means something in this conversation in one way or the other. So I heard their stories too of how difficult it was. I think Penny Marshall is probably the best director I ever worked with. And the funny thing is, I grew up without a television, so I didn't know she had been an actress before. I never to this day seen Laverne and Shirley, and I think she really liked that.
Okay.
That I just looked at her as a director. She was so smart, but it wasn't easy to get up there through the ranks.
Right.
You know, to fight her way up to the top. And she truly was brilliant. You know, she truly was exceptional. Yeah. And she was an exceptional artist. And the she part was important, but less important than she was an amazing artist.
Right. And I think that's where that's a hope, is that's where we're headed, that we're just, we're equalizing the playing field so that, if a woman is leading something or directing or producing something work. Big, then it's just about the work, that person is doing.
Jessie, I'd be specifically curious to hear from you what you think listeners who might be watching this can do, tangible things that they could do to help in this effort.
I think by supporting opportunities that support young women in music. Boulanger Initiative is working on a mentorship program, and there's also this wonderful program called Luna Labs.
I think the extremes always show up what's really going on. And right now we are in a time of COVID, which is the most musical time we can possibly be in, because to really truly make music happen, we have to get in a huddle. We have to get close together, because so many reasons, but one of the reasons is we need to be able to really hear each other. So now we suddenly find ourselves in this COVID time where we have to be that terrible word, socially distanced, which I don't know who came up with this, because we're not supposed to be socially distant. We're supposed to be doing exactly what music does, which is socially bring us together, but physically distant. But I'm finding, I have a lot of work on at the moment, and I'm finding, I'm keeping musicians going all over the world at the moment, because I can, and therefore I have to.
Right. It's kind of a responsibility in a way for you to continue to keep the thing alive, right?
It's like we're all alone in this together.
Yeah, I haven't felt as connected as I have during this time to all, to colleagues and their mission and, what it is that everyone's trying to sort of get off the ground. I think in that way, it's a really beautiful moment to, encourage people who would normally be, in the position to have a voice in their field. Maybe they're working towards something, and it's a moment in which, those of us who are in positions of, where the train is kind of like, already on the road, to reach out and just seeing who's in our community and how we can sort of bring people on board with projects and brainstorm about how those projects are going to come to fruition after this thing is all done with. So I think this is an opportune moment that we're in to sort of recultivate what that diverse landscape is going to look like that we're talking about.
It's amazing the clarity that comes with that loss of connection and how much we recognize that loss and the ways that we innovate new ways of making it happen.
Part of where I think we're heading at whatever happens with this crisis, it will leave an economic void. I think one of the things that we have a duty to do, we the musicians, we the entertainers, we the whatever we are, we can give people an experience that can help them get through the period. We can write music, we can do performances, we can speak a language that doesn't use words but gets right to your heart and gets right to your spine as well. I remember what I said at the end of those Lion King sessions. I thanked you guys, and I looked across all of you. I mean, all 100 and something.
Yeah.
And I went, without you, there would only be silence, and that's the truth.
Yeah. I remember that.
And we got right now things are a bit too silent. Time we made a noise. Time we rose up and made a bit of a racket.
I know that we could go on all day long, but we're out of time. So thank you both so much for being here and being part of Share the Stage Now and having this important conversation. It was a thrill to see the two of you meet.
Thank
Jessie,
you.
it's lovely to see you again.
It's so lovely to see you.
Let's make some music.
I would love to
start chatting.
Let's do
stuff.
it.
Let's do some more.
I would love it. I would love it. I would be an honor.